Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally Burdett, live from Johannesburg. Your top stories this evening.
If there is such a serious protest about service delivery, why wouldn't the crowd of the residents meet with me?
Protesters bring Alexandra township to a halt while the DA and the ANC play the blame game over service delivery. We'll get the very latest on what's happening there this evening. Minister Pravin Gordhan says there will be little to no load shedding this winter. And justice for baby Daniel, neglected and brutally tortured by the people who were meant to love and protect him. We start here. Service delivery shutdown, anti-foreigner protest, or political point scoring ahead of the elections. Whatever the root cause of today's shutdown in Alexandra township, it was undoubtedly effective. Residents say they are tired of lawlessness and mushrooming informal settlements in the area, while authorities do nothing. The Human Rights Commission is now probing possible violations by provincial and city Johannesburg officials. Malungelo Boy looks back at a day of disruption.
Residents gathered at the crack of dawn to shut down Alexandra. That means no businesses or schools could operate. Illegal land invasions resulting in mushrooming settlements and corruption in the allocation of RDP homes are some of the concerns residents say have led to the degeneration of their township.
Country arena is going down. You can't work with. Where is job creation? Are you against the foreigner? The government arena. How do you welcome the foreigner? How are you better? What is country Jamila ko di better? How do you babata hore the crime fele? How are the police station?
Protesters believe lawlessness and poor service delivery are hindering progress in their township.
They are building in places which have been identified for other development except for residential. In a place where there is lawlessness, there is no opportunities.
Residents say they'd sent a memorandum to the city of Johannesburg over their concerns in February. While Johannesburg Mayor Herman Mashaba blames the ANC for the problems in this township, residents have snubbed his public safety MEC.
I don't understand why, if there is such a serious protest about service delivery, why wouldn't the crowd of the residents meet with me? You know, I was insulted by one of the leadership to say that I run a spaza department.
These protesters have the backing of the ANC in the area, which has endorsed the shutdown, accusing the DA-led city of Johannesburg of failing in its obligation to provide services. At the same time, the Human Rights Commission has decided to investigate the residents' claims. Malungelo Boy, Alexandra.
Well, tomorrow the protesters have vowed to shut down Sandton. Africa's richest square mile is a mere stone's throw from Alex. To tell us more about that is Slindele Masekane, who also spent the day in Alex. Before we get to what's going to happen tomorrow, we are getting some reports that things are kicking off again this evening in Alex. Can you confirm that?
I can. It was a promise that was made this afternoon that they would continue protesting. When they did take that break, it was really just to energize again. But the police are on high alert, and it's small flare-ups. So at the moment, the situation is under control. No rubber bullets have been fired at this stage.
The protesters say this is not an anti-foreigner protest. You've been on the ground all day. What is your sense of what's at the heart of this?
You know what, Sally, I think the issue around the foreign nationals residing in these mushroomings of these illegal structures, as they call them, are really compounding the situation. So on top of it being a service delivery protest, it doesn't help that these illegal infrastructures are being occupied by foreign nationals, and they're being built under pylons and connecting to the water supply, which is also affecting the residents. So it's a number of issues which are really centered around service delivery, which may see foreign nationals then suffering the consequences of that.
Now, what about Sandton tomorrow? I heard an interview you did a little earlier this afternoon where one of the protest organisers said to you, right, Sandton's in our sights for tomorrow. Is it going to happen? How serious is it likely to be?
It seems it's definitely going to happen. We understand that they will gather once again. We don't understand at this stage whether there's going to be a plan to block the roads, the entry points into Alexandra again. But what we do know for sure is that the residents are planning to march to a regional office in Sandton, where they're going to demand to see Mayor Herman Mashaba, where they're going to demand that he addresses them and then accept a memorandum of demands.
All right, well, I'm sure you'll be covering that tomorrow. Thank you very much for that update. Our reporter Slindile Masekane confirming that indeed there are some flare-ups tonight in Alex. Nothing too serious, we understand, at this stage, but obviously we will keep an eye on that story. Let's move on to some good news on the electricity front now. We may be paying more for power, but the lights will be staying on for the next 5 months. Today, Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan said there would be no stage 4 load shedding, and if there were any planned outages at all over winter, they will be very limited. Today's reassurance comes after last month's unprecedented stretch of stage 4 outages.
We have as our aim that there should be no load shedding from this point onwards. But that is an aim. To get to that aim, we have to execute our plans and execute them at 110%, not even 100%. So that will take a bit of time to get going. But the other indication that we want to give the South African public, which also creates room for optimism and hope, is that if there is load shedding, and we'll show you how the Eskom team has arrived at some of these numbers, at the most we will see level 1 load shedding on a few occasions.
A distressing story now, but some justice at least for little baby Daniel, who died a brutal and cruel death. His mother and her former boyfriend were sentenced today in the South Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg. Now, in December last year, the mother was found guilty of neglect, her ex-partner found guilty of the murder. Their names have been concealed to protect the identities of their other children who are now in care. Mia Spies has the story.
It's been nearly 2 years since baby Daniel was found dead at his home after being severely beaten and burnt with boiling water. Now, those who were supposed to protect him have been sentenced for his death. His mother will spend an effective 20 years in jail for child neglect. Her former boyfriend has been handed a life sentence.
The sentences that our courts impose when offences of this nature are committed should strive to ensure that people are not driven to take the law into their own hands, but rather to scare away would-be offenders.
He was clearly unhappy with his hefty sentence. The sentences have been welcomed by the organisation Women and Men Against Child Abuse.
So the sentence sets a precedence for the fact that if you're going to actively murder a child, you'll get life, and if you're going to allow that to happen, you'll get 20 years.
Both their lawyers say they haven't decided yet if they will appeal against their sentences, but Lamprecht says they will oppose any appeal. Mia Spies, Johannesburg.
An update now on the on-air altercation on ENCA yesterday between the ANC's Jesse Duarte and our political reporter Samkelo Maseko. Today, senior channel representatives met with a delegation from the ANC. In that meeting, ENCA restated its position that it will continue to ask tough questions of all political parties and will not put up with verbal abuse or bullying from any politician. ENCA Editor-in-Chief Jeremy Magg says the channel welcomes the ANC's commitment to media freedom. The ANC has described today's meeting as fruitful and productive.
We committed to respect the freedom of the media. We committed that will not interfere with the editorial independence of the media. We committed that there will be fair reporting, objective, and very clear from all parties in terms of all situations. We all felt that the situation that occurred yesterday, it was unfortunate, and we can do better. We have further agreed that we will engage one another going forward.
Quick look at other stories making local headlines. National Director of Public Prosecutions Shamila Batoy has moved Willie Hofmeyer back to the Asset Forfeiture Unit 3 years after her predecessor, Sean Abrams, moved him out of his role as head of that unit. Abrams' decision to move Hofmeyer from the AFU to the Legal Affairs Division of the NPA was widely seen at the time as a demotion and an effort to weaken the unit. Ministers of Police Bheki Cele, Home Affairs Siyabonga Cwele and Labour Mildred Oliphant today met in Durban with representatives of the Truck Drivers Federation. Now, this meeting comes after recent volatile protests. Some trucks were burnt, others blockaded KwaZulu-Natal's N3 freeway, which affected thousands of motorists. The protests stemmed from the alleged hiring of foreign drivers in the transport industry. Still ahead on eNews, floodwaters are receding in Mozambique, but families are now facing mounting challenges.
And in your business news, the rand gained some ground today on hopes that the US and China could finally reach that all-important trade deal.
Talk business now with Rufiwa Madzena. Rufiwa, thanks so much for joining us. We heard the good news a little earlier in the bulletin from Pravin Gordon that the lights are going to stay on this winter. If there is load shedding, it will be very little and only stage 1. Great news, but you've had a look at the money behind all of this, and we're very lucky the new development banks come to our aid. Just talk us through the finances a little.
Sally, we're lucky that the new development bank has come to our aid. And just to recap, last month they gave Eskom 11 billion rand. This is to fix Medupi, and then 2 days ago they gave 2.5 billion rand and said focus on developing the renewable energy space. The problem here though is that Eskom still needs more. So they've indicated Medupi, which is the strongest power plant, it's got capacity to provide about 4,800 extra kilowatts of energy should it be fixed, is that it needs about 18 billion to fix it. And it needs 8 billion rand to complete the building of the power plant. We don't know how long this is going to take, but the minister has been very assurant in that they are working on it and they are making provisions to make sure that the money that they've been getting from the likes of the new development bank will go straight to those operational needs of Medupi, as well as Kusile in some instances. Another question that came up though is what about nuclear? So we've seen Koeberg do really well, so why not extend Koeberg, and the problem here is that nuclear has been politicized. So this 1 trillion rand notion of nuclear being an option for power in the country has really just destroyed the options. And the truth is, it's the cleanest form, it's the most efficient form, and it's reliable. And there is a form, if you put it in smaller terms, to actually make it work.
So it could still be seen as part of the mix.
Exactly, could be seen as part of the mix.
The other big issue, of course, is the billions that are owed to Eskom by municipalities. What is it? Something like 20 billion. Is there any real hope of that money coming back?
So the chief executive of Eskom indicated today that this is a political issue and now it falls onto government to make sure that these municipalities pay. Some staggering figures that were revealed by the minister today, Sally. He said that Soweto alone, which falls under the city of Joburg, owes about 17 billion. This will increase to 20 billion. This is one amount that 60 municipalities owe combined. So that about 20 billion that 60 municipalities around the country owe, Soweto owns on its own. And this is not going to get better. There are people that continue to default here, and even though they're putting in prepaid meters, it's still an issue there, Sally. So there's a lot to say about this one, and we're going to continue unpacking it.
And defaulters will increase with increased prices,
Absolutely,
I am
Sally,
sure.
that's right.
Talk us through the markets today.
Let's have a look at those markets, Sally. So a very beautiful day on the JSE today. It was on the brink of 58,000 points today, meaning that it closed 1.3% higher. So it was a great day for markets globally as reports surfaced that the US and China was 90% close to a trade deal. So sentiment was definitely risk on there. Onto the commodities front, the platinum price surging more than 2% higher, while we saw some retreat in that Brent crude price towards the end of the day. Earlier, it did almost touch $70 a barrel. If we take a look at the local unit now, the rand is 0.5% stronger against the dollar compared to levels that we saw overnight. Now there is still some momentum from that positive note that we got from Moody's yesterday.
Did you say a beautiful day on the market?
It was a beautiful day on the market.
You are such a numbers person. I would never have put beautiful and markets in the same sentence, but you have. Thank you very much, Rafi. We'll chat again to you tomorrow. Let's move to international news now. In Mozambique, the flood waters caused by Cyclone Idai starting to recede, but many families who've lost loved ones are battling to find their bodies and give them a dignified burial.
In Mozambique, the flood waters caused by Cyclone Idai are gradually receding. But as the water level drops, new devastation is revealed. Hundreds of thousands of people have lost their homes, but many have also lost family members. Communities in Mozambique have been working hard to bury their dead with dignity and respect. Some do not know if their family members have died or how to find the gravesite to pay their respects. The International Committee of the Red Cross is supporting flood-affected communities to recover bodies, identify them and bury them in clearly marked graves.
We've had the full range, essentially, of activities that pertain to management of the dead. We've had the opportunity to find human remains and recover them with the authorities and the community. And then we've also visited graves just to get a sense of how the graves are essentially dug and will those graves be recognizable in a number of years.
But recovery efforts in Mozambique have now been further hampered by a cholera outbreak in the cyclone-hit port city of Beira, where cases have nearly doubled to 271 in the last few days.
Still ahead, we'll go to our weather centre in Cape Town. Louis standing by for your live weather report. I see some hail. And then, celebrating in style, this graduate from the University of KwaZulu-Natal whips out her best moves during her graduation ceremony. Let's get all your weather news now from Louis Fernandez. Good evening to you, Louis. Gosh, that's quite a dramatic picture behind you, all that hail.
It is, Sally, as expected for today. It became very stormy in the Free State in the last few hours, and there were heavy downpours as well as hail, as we can see behind me, some significant hail having taken place in the province. And while it stays quite stormy for that area at the moment, things will start dissipating overnight. But we're keeping an eye on the western coastline. It's becoming foggy in that region as a cold front is fast approaching the area. That will make landfall around Cape Town during the course of tomorrow morning, bringing wet weather to the area. And those wet conditions spread further into the interior of the Western Cape and along the south coast. And then for the afternoon and evening, more thunderstorm activity for the central and eastern parts of the country. Taking a look at your city forecast, in the Northern Cape, a few thunder showers for Portsmouthburg and Kimberley, and with the front reaching this province, there could be light rain much later on in the day for Kimberley and Sutherland. That front could also bring a few rumbles of thunder to Langebaan as well as Cape Town, so don't be surprised if you see a little bit of lightning around, and the rain will spread across this province as the day goes on. That light rain could even reach Port Elizabeth, but only late at night. Other areas in the Eastern Cape potentially seeing thunderstorms, and temperatures will be rising across this area, including in KwaZulu-Natal, where it's going to be a hot day, and there is a fair chance that you'll see lightning and thunder in the province as well. Thunderstorms returning to parts of Mpumalanga. Skukuza, on the other hand, stays dry with a maximum of 34 degrees and a summer-like day expected for Limpopo, with temperatures climbing across the province where it stays dry. But for the northwest, there will be thunderstorms once again, especially towards the western parts, where a few thunderstorms could become strong, if not severe. And there is a 60% chance of thunder showers into the Free State, where those temperatures will be climbing into the mid-20s. And it will once again be a warm day in Gauteng, partly cloudy skies, and there is a 40% chance of thunder showers as well. A quick look ahead to Friday, and we're going to have thunder showers spreading north and eastwards, while cooler air makes its way up the east coast, with wet weather expected for the Eastern Cape and KZN. And then the weekend will start off wet in the north once again. KwaZulu-Natal staying cool, while temperatures will be rising in the west with lots of sunshine. That's all from the Weather Centre. Sally, it's back to you.
Thank you very much, Louis Fernandez in Cape Town. And finally, the 2019 graduation season is in full swing, and for many the excitement is overwhelming. Take a look at Zandile Shange from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Now, she had the crowd on their feet when she whipped out her best moves while receiving her degree this week. 21-year-old Shange, a BA Social Sciences graduate from UKZN's Howard College campus, performed a traditional Zulu dance on her way to being capped. Pretty fantastic. Let's just take a look at your top story this evening. Reports of some disturbances in Alex tonight. This as protesters gear up for Sandton tomorrow morning, threatening a shutdown there. From me and the team, it's a very good night.